What was Tyler like as a kid?
He was a class clown, that's all the teachers ever used to say it was. He was a lovely kid, he was always outgoing and he loved his sports. He had a heart of gold. To me, Tyler was too sensitive. He used to take on everybody else's problems.
Did he try and fix problems?
He was just there for everybody, all his friends and stuff. Like when he died, they were like that, oh, he done this for me and he done that for me. And I'm so sorry we couldn't have been there for him at his time. But he did go for help 3 weeks before he died. He was getting ready for work. And he said he couldn't find his car keys, and I'll regret these words to the day I die. And I said to him, you're useless, you're always losing something. And he turned around and said to us, I'm sorry. No, I'm useless. He said, I tried to hang myself last week. He said, and that didn't even work because the belt snapped. And then my stomach just dropped. So we sat and talked and we got an appointment at the doctor's and stuff, and they gave him antidepressants. And then 3 weeks later, my daughter got a message on her phone saying, tell Mum and Dad I'm sorry, but I really cannot live this life anymore. So we rang the police and the police went out looking for him. And they found him the early hours of the morning, took him to hospital, where obviously it was COVID at the time. So the police rang and says, look, we found him, but we think you need to come down to the hospital to see him. So I says, well, will allow us because obviously it's COVID. And the police officer says, oh, I don't know, well, I'll find out, I'll ring you back. So the police officer rang us back and he says, no, sorry, you can't come down. So I rang the hospital and I said, look, this is the situation with him. I told them the conversation 3 weeks before what we'd had about his previous attempt, and the words I got off the nurse at the hospital was, well, at the end of the day, he's an adult. I says, yeah, but he's my vulnerable adult. He's still my being. So about an hour later, he rang us and says, oh, can you come down and pick us up? So I went and picked him up. And then 3 weeks later, 3 weeks after that, he had to go to London to work because he was an electrician. And he used to ring us every day when he was at work at 10 o'clock in the morning on his break, and then on the night time when he'd finished. And on the Monday, he rang us on the Monday morning and he said, oh, I'm going out with the lads tonight. I said, watch what you're doing, be careful. And then I've tried to ring him he didn't ring us on the Tuesday morning. So I rang him, no answer. I tried all day, and then on the Tuesday night time, I rang my husband and I said, you need to ring the Baines boss. I said, I can't get in touch with them all day. I had this gut feeling. And he says, he's probably been out last night, man, and I'm not ringing his boss because if he hasn't gone into work, the deal will get him into trouble. And I said, I'll tell you something. I said, the Baines not coming home. I says, I've got this feeling in my stomach, he's not coming home. So then, still couldn't get in touch with him on the Tuesday. Then the Wednesday come. So I rang my husband again. I said, you really need to ring his boss now. I said, I still can't get in touch with him. So he said, right, when I finish work, I'll ring his boss. So on the tea time, he'd rang like Tyler's boss. And his boss said, I'll have to ring you back. And then within about 10 minutes, the police were walking up my door. And the first thing I remember saying is, I told you he wasn't coming home. I knew it was for him. But I did, obviously, when we had the inquest and stuff and I got all the paperwork through, there was a lot of things that was wrong in the reports from the NHS and stuff when they took him back to the hospital. Like 3 weeks prior when the coroner was investigating. So I took it up with the ombudsman, like after the inquest and stuff. It took us 2 years, obviously, to fight for what was wrong, and the things that they'd said were wrong on the paperwork. Them said that 3 weeks prior the police had took him 3 weeks prior the police had took him no, sorry, I'm starting to get mixed up. 3 weeks prior, when the police had took him to hospital, the NHS had wrote on the form to the inquest that a friend had taken him to hospital with an eye injury. And obviously it wasn't, it was a police voice mental health because they'd been looking for him during the night. Well, there was little things in the paperwork, like obviously what the nurse said was on the phone when I rang the hospital. Tyler had ticked the form to see that them could disclose information with me. But then they told the coroner that they hadn't. But then when the ombudsman started looking into it and got all the paperwork back, that's when them got the right paperwork to say that he had said that they could disclose stuff to me. So now they've changed it so carers can get more input into people with mental health. And if I hadn't have fought that for 2 years after Tyler dying, then that wouldn't have come about.